Hello and welcome to the studio of New Jersey Conference of Seventh-day Adventists. Have you ever heard about a person who got rid of cancer without taking any chemotherapy or radiation? Well, in studios with us today is Mrs. Naomi Watson, a lady who applied God's laws from the Bible and was healed miraculously. I'm not talking about an epiphany of a faith healer, but a true story of how God healed somebody who took God's laws and made their own. Stay tuned for more. Welcome back. In studios we have right now Mrs. Naomi Watson. Welcome and thank you for joining us here. And I've heard much about you, but I would like to hear it from yourself.
Okay.
So tell us something about you, your family background, where you come from.
Okay. I'm only passing through over here at the minute. I actually live in the UK. My husband was a minister for 29 years.
Okay.
And then I've got 2 older boys, now almost independent.
Okay.
So that's why I can go on holidays. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And then I'm a main carer for my mother, who's 92 years old.
Wow. So you are still a full-time wife and a daughter.
Yes.
Right?
And mother.
And a mother,
Yeah.
of course. Well, we have heard about your story and in churches and in other places. But today we would like you to tell our viewers through this medium of your journey, especially the journey through cancer.
Well, I was diagnosed actually more than 10 and a half years ago.
Okay.
This January, it will, 2019, it would be 11 years
Wow.
of having had the cancer.
Was there a time period the doctors mentioned that you would live?
Yeah.
Wow.
When I was actually diagnosed, I asked what my prognosis was, and they said I had months to live, and I had to have chemotherapy. No, I had to have a mastectomy, chemotherapy, radiotherapy, and Herceptin. Once they had done the tests.
The regular
Yes.
chart that they give
That's
to
right.
follow.
Yes, and I didn't want any of that because I had done some research months before that, not because of cancer, but I had just read some research on chemotherapy, and I realized that it was going to kill my immune system, and so I said, I don't want that. It's one thing reading an article and saying no, but then when you're faced with a consultant telling you that you have cancer, it's a little bit of a different story.
Okay, so what help did you take from medical science regarding regarding your healing process?
Well, for one thing, it was a bit of a challenge, and I was thinking outside the box, and I didn't want the chemotherapy and radiotherapy. Actually, I didn't even want the mastectomy that they were suggesting. But then, the test showed that the cancer had spread quite a bit in my left breast, and it had gone to one of the lymph nodes as well.
Wow.
So I actually spoke to 2 institutes in America. Weimar and UC Pines, and both of them suggested that I should stop drinking and smoking and not taking tea and coffee and not having any meat. But then I was a Seventh-day Adventist, so I didn't do any of that anyway. And I was, my interest in health and nutrition has been for a long time. And in some ways, I didn't quite understand because I thought I had a healthy life. I thought I was active. I thought I was eating well. And I was drinking plenty of water, all the normal things that you would think a healthy life should be. So, but then when they said that if I have a mastectomy, I take the cancer out and then go to them, to do go natural. And so I really needed to know what I was what I was doing.
Okay.
If we say natural. To each one of us, natural means something else. So I wanted to know that what I was doing was what I should be doing. So that's why I went. And I went on an 18-day program.
Okay. So let me go back and confirm one thing for our viewers. So are you telling us that you never took chemotherapy or radiation?
That's correct.
Wow.
Yeah.
So the surgery was the last thing that you did for your cancer healing.
Yeah.
And then
no
you went...
painkillers.
No painkillers?
No.
Oh, wow. and then you went natural.
Yeah.
Would you like to throw some more light upon that?
Yeah, it was an 18-day program, and I remember the first day, at 5 o'clock we got up and they did some blood tests and all that, and then they said you can go and have breakfast. We had been traveling the previous day, hadn't had any food, so I was really looking forward to that breakfast. What I didn't realize was that that breakfast was the last of my breakfast, because after that I had salad for lunch,
Okay.
salad for tea time. Actually, they prefer you to have 2 meals a day.
Okay.
But my meals seem to be very small, and so they said, okay, I can have, but it was just salad.
Okay.
And the next day,
What did it have?
it had lettuce, tomato, cucumber, radish, mention, anything. It was raw and it was salad.
Okay.
And the next day breakfast was a bit hard because okay for lunch and okay for the evening meal, but breakfast was hard. I just wanted a healthy breakfast, but that was supposed to be what I had. But along with the breakfast, and actually twice a day, but 2 meals, I had to have 6 cloves of garlic as well, because garlic is very good, anti-inflammatory, and all the various things, we know that garlic is good for. And I think the only way I could have that garlic was to have it with the salad. So however, although I had come with a strict mindset that I'm willing to do anything now, whatever they say, I was willing to do, so that when I go back, I didn't have the chemotherapy and radiotherapy. By the 3rd breakfast, I said, oh, I can't face this. All good intentions.
The battle that we all lose. Yeah.
And I was surprised because I thought to myself, it's only taken me the 3rd breakfast to say, no, not really, not for me. However, my doctor was very good. He knew I had come with that mindset. I was willing to do anything. And when he said, I can't face that breakfast, he said, that's all right. You don't have to eat it.
Okay.
But that was a full stop after that. There was no alternative. You either eat it or don't. And I remember him telling me, when your body is ready, you will eat. And then I thought to myself, well, if I'm going to have the garlic, then I might as well have like a tomato sandwich in which I slice the tomatoes and put my garlic in it and eat it as a sandwich, really. But that was it. But it was salad, salad, salad. They told me that I could introduce other things later on. But for me, I thought to myself, well, if this is what's going to help me get clean from the inside and it's going to give me the nutrients, then I don't need anything else. So I was very focused, and for the 18 days, I kept with that, along with some fresh carrot juice and various other things.
So is there a terminology, or when you put on paper, how this program look like? And is that something that you follow on a regular basis?
Yes, I do. Because when I came away, I realized all the principles that were needed for this recovery. So I mentioned to you about nutrition, but right after breakfast, they used to encourage us to walk, and we were asked to walk for 3 miles a day.
3 miles?
Yeah.
Wow.
Now, I'm quite an active person, and 3 miles, we had to build up, to 3 miles by the 15 or 18 days. But for me, I was happy to, from day one, I was able to do the 3 miles, not a problem. By the way, this was exactly 4 weeks after my operation.
Okay.
So, I had my operation, and I told the consultants to keep my space for the chemotherapy and radiotherapy on hold, as it were. Not that they were happy. And then, so I did that. Then after the walk, we had some time when we had some trainings, etc. But then we had some juices, and then we had lunch. After lunch, we had some therapies. One was hydrotherapy. So it's basically water. And you know how important water is. We need plenty to drink and flush our system, but water can be used in other ways as well. And hydrotherapy is just like getting into a hot bath, a really hot bath. And they put ice on your head so your brains don't sizzle or whatever. But then they increase the temperature, so you get more hot water, pumped into the big.
And why is that?
If you think your body gets hot,
Okay.
so it's like the body getting fever. I mean, because they can bring their temperature up to 102, 103 degrees. But when your body thinks it's got fever, the immune system will kick in and say, oh, we've got fever. The white corpuscles, are aroused, as it were, to fight against that fever. Now, everything that is done is to build your immune system. okay? Because it's the immune system that fights the cancer.
Yeah.
It's the immune system which fights the coughs and the colds, that we regularly have.
Okay.
But if you kill your immune system, then who's going to fight for you?
Okay.
That was my reasoning. And that is why I chose not to have the chemotherapy. Because although chemotherapy could kill the cancer cells, it could also kill my good cells. And I didn't want that. I wanted the good cells to help fight.
Okay.
So by doing that, and then rest, in fact, after that hydrotherapy, you get so exhausted. It's like getting fever. You just completely feel drained. But then I can go and sleep for an hour and, you feel fine.
Oh, yeah.
And then there was another one, which was oxygen therapy. So they put you in a hyperbaric chamber. So it's, I always think of it like a big tent, with a zip.
Or a balloon.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, but you can lie in it.
Okay.
So you can either sleep in it. I used to sometimes sleep. I sometimes
what does
read.
it do?
They pump in more oxygen.
Okay.
So you don't feel anything any different, but apart from hearing the noise, it's like an aeroplane. How you can hear the big sound. You can hear that in the hyperbaric chamber as well.
Okay.
Now that is pumping more oxygen. Cancer does not like oxygenated areas. It does not survive in that. So you pump in more oxygen, and the cancer says, this is not for me. So the bad cells, don't like the oxygen, and that's what we need. So it's, helping the good cells to be pumped with good cells. Now, okay, that's why we say go out and, go for a walk, take deep breaths. I mean, when you're just inside, it's just shallow breathing, and you're not taking in the oxygen. You want to get rid of that stale air. You want, oxygen coming in and the carbon dioxide going out.
That's right.
But that's why even if it's cold, wrap up warm and get out there, take some deep breaths. That'll help a lot, get more oxygen in that. And then what else? So, yeah. Oh, yes. Another thing that I had to do was sunbathe. Now, isn't that sounding much better than going and lying down and getting your chemotherapy shot?
Of course, for people living in New Jersey, it's quite a dream to have a sunbath.
Yes. And so they would just do an enclosure because it was, without any clothes. I had to sunbathe and I could read or whatever. Not 20, 30 minutes is what you're having. But it's good because it helps the healing. It helps the healing of the wound. It helps the healing of the body. You've got the vitamin D there, and that is good. Okay. So whichever part of the world you are, simple things. I mean, if you're in a really hot place like India, I'm not asking you to go out in the midday sun, go slightly earlier in the day. But that vitamin D is very good. And
so is there a time frame that we should be outside? Because when I was a child, I studied that the sun rays from 7 to 9, they're safe and they're quite healthy. Is that right?
Yeah, but then if I'm in the UK or here where the temperatures are not still warm by that time, you won't want to sunbathe at that time.
That's right. That's right.
It's a bit later in the day, but if it's a really warm, you don't want to get sunburned because that's not the idea, but you want the thing. Yeah.
Okay. What was the next step that you had to take?
Go to bed.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
That sounds interesting.
No, yeah. I remember when I rang them and they said, 8 o'clock you're winding down, 9 o'clock lights will be off. I said, I'm not at school anymore.
That
I don't
sounds like boarding
school. That's right. Yeah, it is. However, it was very interesting. I mean, I didn't think I was going to do it. But by the time you had done all these things, you were ready for bed. And of course, there's no television, nothing, to see,
no distractions.
So you're going to bed, and you do get up in the morning feeling really refreshed. Just by going to bed early, making sure. I mean, see, I'm giving you a rough idea, but the deep sleep between 10 and 2, 10 at night. Now, because of all the chores that we have, and various things that we might be doing, we must say, a bit later. Yeah, so you just reducing your deep sleep. Your deep sleep is essential. People have so many problems. The stress, the depression, the healing is not taking place because we're not allowing ourselves. In fact, the Western world is really sleep deprived. And you never seem to make that sleep up again. So that is very essential.
But sorry to interrupt you here, but were you able to, we'll come back to the program, but were you able to practice this sleep practice once you got back to your normal life?
Well, that's the challenge, isn't it? When you get back, when
Yeah,
there is nobody to tell you or watch to switch the lights on. Well, a couple of things were really difficult. One is nutrition, because I wanted to continue my raw and continue having healthy food. But when you're living in a family with my mum and my boys and my husband, and they have different choices, and some of the shopping that you do, although I didn't want to do some of that shopping, you know, food came into the house and it's very tempting.
Okay.
You know, when somebody prepares it for you and you're doing it, you know, it's good. And we were too far away to go to the shops to buy any crisps, so it's biscuits or whatever. So this was hard. And also when you cook food, you know, you can smell food and you think, oh yes, I'd love that. While as raw food or salads, I'm talking about raw food, I'm talking about salads, is it looks beautiful, but you can't smell it in the same way. But that is what, I call it God's pharmacy.
Okay.
You know the color on your plate, the rainbow colored with all the different vitamins and minerals that you're getting naturally.
But
you
it's
know,
so contradictory. God's pharmacy?
F-A-R-M-A-C-Y.
Oh, so you spell it like that.
That's right.
Wow, that's actually interesting. Yeah, pharmacy.
That's right.
That's right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Having
that's
said
so
that,
nice.
you know, nowadays we don't even put all the nutrients into the soil that we need.
Okay.
Because farmers, you know, depending on which part of the world you are, you know, they're only required to put maybe 3 minerals back into the soil, and we need far more than that. And also, you know, fruit is not ripened on the tree, so again we're missing out on the ripened fruit. So you know, and you know, when you think of the journey of these plants and vegetables, by the time it comes to on your plate, you know, it's a long journey. How much nutrients are you losing? And then we might then cook the food and, you know, maybe cook it to death, you know, and how much nutrition is on your plate. So if you're not giving your body the right nutrition, how will your body heal?
Okay.
You also, well, I use a simple formula to remind myself, and I call it start anew.
Okay.
And start anew is a mnemonic, but it's also, you know, we make mistakes, we fall off the wagon, although we know what we should be doing sometimes. You know, we get sidetracked and whatever.
Of course.
And so you can start anew. God's mercies are new every morning. And you can change by continuing, you know, to make changes. Small changes, big changes, but you can make those changes. And God helps you with that as well. I know He has helped me a tremendous lot, you know, having to not to go back to my old ways, you know, and to keep trying to improve what I'm doing.
So what does the start anew stand for? Yeah,
okay.
I'm so excited to hear that.
S for sunshine.
Okay.
Do you remember I said I had to have, I had to sit out in the sun for 20 to 30 minutes? Simple.
Okay.
So you need sunshine. T for temperance. Temperance is basically avoiding all the poisons. So whether it be drinking, smoking, you know, taking drugs or taking tea and coffee, as mild as that. But importantly, sometimes we might be following all that, but the sugar in our diet, whoa, that's huge. We don't even realize that.
And it works like slow poison.
Oh, slow, absolutely. Yeah, but we enjoy it.
Of course.
I'm not saying we don't have any sweets at all, and I'll, you know, I can share that. But see, when you're taking sugar, you are feeding the cancer cells. So to me, it's not as simple, but it is simple, but not easy. You make a choice. Are you going to feed your cancer cells, or are you going to feed your good cells?
Good cells, okay.
So if you want to feed if you're eating sugar, then you're feeding your cancer cells. But there's also, you know, the really processed foods that we have, the white flour, unbleached. It doesn't have any nutrition in it. By the time we eat it, it converts to sugar very quickly. That's why, you know, stay close to nature. Use what God has given us, God's pharmacy. Yeah. And I know many times we say, oh, read the label. But I say, go a step further. Don't buy things which have no labels on it. Like your apples, your bananas, your mangoes. They don't have any labels. The carrots, the greens. But they are grown. They're grown. God intended it for us to eat. You know, go back to Genesis 1:29. Simple. Eat the seeds, the herbs, the fruit. That's what he gave us.
Wow.
And
The green diet.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. But actually, more than the green diet, I would say is the rainbow diet.
Oh, yes.
We
that
can
makes
have,
sense.
and it's so attractive. It's so nice. But we use it for garnish.
Yeah.
Hey, don't just
Wow.
use it for garnish. Use it as your main meal, because
I
that's
remember
what.
when it's lemon water, it's all water, but just some slices of lemon on it. They call it lemon water.
That's right.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
but-
better than lemonade, though.
Yeah.
Because then, you know,
Yeah,
then
you're avoiding sugar
That's
in there.
right.
That's
yeah.
right.
But although we say no sugar, hey, look, you've got dates, you've got sultanas, you've got raisins, you've got fruit. That's natural sugar. I mean, don't overdo it, but that's
Okay.
natural sugar. But just don't have the really processed sugar.
Okay. So we spoke about sunlight, temperance, and
Yeah.
the third one is?
Air,
Okay.
which is fresh air.
Okay.
And that's why I said about the hyperbaric chamber.
Yeah.
It's the oxygen. We need, plenty of oxygen to take in, so going out there. But there's also the other thing is greens. The more greens we have, the more oxygen in our body.
Okay.
And the blood loves it. Women get tired and, at various times of the, of their life because they're so busy, etc. And then they want to go and get the doctor prescribes them with, the iron tablets. But if you have the greens, you can have it in the smoothie, you can have it in the salad, loads of ways you can have it. You can juice it. That will immediately give the nutrients that the body needs.
Oh, wow. So we can get air from plants.
the greens,
Yeah,
absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. And then you've got rest.
Oh,
Yeah, go
please
to bed
speak
early.
about it. Yeah.
Yeah, but then we are also privileged because God has given us one day. He says, rest, come and rest with me.
Wow.
And that is absolutely tremendous. Just to be, on Friday evening, just to be able to wind down and just have that quiet time is so precious. And if you don't recognize that, I believe that God didn't tell us that for his benefit. He told us that for our benefit because he knew that we would be tired. We knew that we needed the break. And to be able to do that,
Who
is
can
really
know our biological cycle more than our creator,
exactly.
right?
Yes.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's amazing.
Yeah.
So, even now in your busy schedule, how many hours do you sleep?
I try to go to bed at 10.
Okay.
Yeah, and I tend to get up at 7, but it could be earlier, just depending on how my sleep pattern is.
Okay.
But I enjoy my sleep.
Okay. What's the next term?
Trust in God.
Oh.
Although we're talking trust in God, much later in the program, without that trust, I don't believe that you can do all these things on your own. Okay. I know people do it, and different aspects of it, but this is a holistic life. We are emotional, social, spiritual, physical beings, and that trust in God is very important because that gives us hope. God gives us hope. Okay. And, for abundant life here and now. And so trust in God is important. Then we've got attitude. It's so important what our attitude is. You can tell two different cancer patients. One, you say you've got cancer and they think they've got to go and write their will because that's the end. And yet you don't have to do that. You can think, okay, if I change my lifestyle, I know I can be able to help myself. And I think that is personally, I think that's the right attitude to take. It's not just with cancer, with any lifestyle disease. If we can change our attitude to saying, okay, let's follow what God is saying. Let's look. And, I can give you example after example where God has said, if you listen to me, because he's after all the creator, the maker, he says, if you listen to me and follow what I've told you, you will be healed. He says, so he is our healer. He is our healer. We can pray. Yes, pray. God answers prayers too. But I think with the prayer, if we can ask God what our part in this healing is, and we can change those habits, hey, won't that be good? Because God will heal us. And what I have noticed is you can feel good, look good, and feel good. So why not do it? So, changing attitude makes a lot of difference. And also you can claim the affirmations from the Bible regarding healing as well.
Okay.
Then you've got nutrition. We've talked a little bit about nutrition as well, and I'd like to follow a whole foods plant-based diet. Whole foods being not processed or not processed too much, and staying close to nature. So whole foods and a plant-based means everything to do with plants. So avoid the meat and the fish and the chicken and the eggs and the milk and the dairy. And now there is so much information and research which proves this.
That's right.
It's not even just what the Bible says. And if you don't believe in the Bible and you're not a Christian or whatever, doesn't mean you can't follow these principles.
Yeah.
You watch there are loads of things on the that are out there now. Things like Forks Over Knives, Cowspiracy, What the Health. They are showing that these principles work. That there are doctors out there saying these principles work. Just try it.
Wow.
And for me, when I went for my program, when I first went, I couldn't raise my hand more than this.
Okay.
I used to say it, Hail Hitler kind of thing. It didn't go very high.
Okay.
But on the 10th day, I was able to raise my hand completely.
Wow.
10th day. And I think 10 days is very special, because when you look at the story of Daniel, he says, give me 10 days. Yeah.
Pulses and water.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. He says, I don't want the king's diet, but give me 10 days. And 10 days and he looked fairer and he was wiser. So look, if you want to look fairer, you want to be wiser, that's what you need to do.
10 days is all it takes, ladies.
And then.
Okay.
Yeah. But you can, because that will help you. And the thing is, when you see those results happening in your body, you're then more encouraged to go on and do more, and that will help you even more.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's nutrition. Exercise. Now we need the exercise. Everybody talks about exercise, and you don't have to go to the gym. You can just warm up. I mean, if the weather is, warm up, dress up warmly rather, and go for a walk, because that helps. You can jog if you want, but walk, if you can't do anything, walking. If the weather is really bad, then you can go up and down the stairs, walk, do some walking, because that's just keeping your muscles active. You don't use it, you lose it. And, what's your choice? You want to, make the most of it, or do you want to look good and feel good?
So what is your minimum time that you prefer people should exercise?
Well, you know what I found? In the UK, they recommend 10,000 steps.
Okay.
A day.
Okay.
And I thought, I'm so active, I'm definitely covering the 10,000 steps. But when I started putting a pedometer on, and even on the phone these days, you can just check how many days. And I thought, only 3,000 to 4,000 steps. I said, surely not. So we actually, although we think we're doing it, we may not be doing it. So, it's a good idea to use your phone, smartphones after all these days, use these devices to find out how much you're walking. And if you're not, add that.
Okay.
Even if it means just 10, starting off with 10 minutes around your block.
Wow.
Yeah? Next day, or next week can be 15 minutes and then 20 minutes. So don't do it overnight, because otherwise your body will really know about it.
And so you increase your time. I'm sorry, Jennifer.
Yeah, no.
But you increase your time because your body gets used to the time that you exercise.
Yes.
So you need to modify it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Once it becomes easier, then stretch it a little bit more. If you already are exercising, then are you doing all the kinds of making sure your heart is pumping a little faster, and are you making sure that all the parts of your body are working, even if you are sitting down most of the time because you're either old or you're unable to do various things, use your hands, but move.
Okay.
Because moving is what is essential.
Yeah. Well, it's the couch generation.
I know.
Nowadays, as you know, we sit in the car, we sit on the couches, we sit in the church, we sit on chairs, we just sit.
You're working.
And I heard somewhere, this amazing phrase which says, sitting is the new smoking.
Yes.
That's so amazing.
Yeah.
And so exercise is so necessary.
Exactly.
I see that. So let's talk about the last term, W. What is it?
Yes, yeah, that's water, W for water.
Okay.
Now, we talked about how water was used for my recovery,
Yes.
in the term of the hydrotherapy. That was water, different temperatures, but it was basically water.
Okay.
But it's also important to drink plenty of water. We need to flush our system with water. It's like having a shower every day, we use water. Now, how do you clean? That is cleaning your outside. How do you clean your insides? You know, are you getting up with a, you know, drinking tea, coffee or whatever, or just water? Just pure water. You can have it hot if you don't like it. You can have it at room temperature or lukewarm or whatever, but you need water to flush your system. And sometimes people don't have the time to drink enough during the day. So I always say start with at least, you know, maybe 2 glasses of water, you know, to start off with. So, you know, you can start you're starting the day good.
That's right.
But I was asked to drink 4 liters of water when I was at, you know, for my recovery. You know, just to flush your system with all the toxins that you have. We're bombarded with toxins. So, you know, water is another way of making sure you've got to, you know, getting rid of the toxins as well.
Wow. Well, this is a lot of information that you gave us today, and it's not that it's a new information. You just applied it into your life, and you saw that how beneficial it was.
Yeah.
So, Mrs. Naomi Watson, it has been a pleasure that you've shared all of this stuff. But before you go, how would you like to summarize? Because I see that you have this information, then you went through this struggle, and now you are on the go to give this information to others. But for this program's sake, how would you summarize it and put it to our viewers?
Well, I think it's a very simple way. It may not be easy, but it's simple. And Start Anew just helps me to remember what all I need to do on a daily basis. And that's what you can do too. You know, prayer plays a very important part, and you can pray that God will help you to follow these simple principles: drinking plenty of water, exercising on a regular basis, eating the right nutrition. And if you don't know, there is a lot of information out there. And if you want to just basically try it, give it a 10-day trial, wherein you're drinking plenty of water, eating good nutrition, and the nutrition being whole foods, plant-based. And there's a whole lot of information on the net you can get as well. And by doing these simple things, you will be able to reverse lifestyle diseases. You might protect yourself from lifestyle. You don't have to have the problem, but you can protect yourself from these lifestyle diseases as well. And don't we all want to look good and feel good?
Of course.
Well, what a simple way of making sure that you look good and feel great. So just, you know, follow the simple ways and you will do that.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Watson, for this wonderful time that we had today. Viewers, please don't forget, there is going to be another episode where Mrs. Watson is going to share with us some demo of how a simple snack looks like, which you can make it yourself. There's no cooking involved, and with things, everyday things that you see in the farmer's market or the veggies that you can grow at home. But as of now, thank you so much for joining us. Have a good day.